girls just going through stuff, and it hurts me to know that those numbers reflect girls like me who've been in places that I've been in. But that's just a little bit about what Mercy does. So I'm just going to share right now a little bit of my journey and how I got to where I am right now. She announced it earlier, but my name's Makena. I'm 16, and I live here in Hollister. I grew up in a loving home with two Christian parents that loved me and my siblings very much. But there were some things going on behind the scenes. When I was about 11 years old, my aunt, who was like my second mom, became ill with cancer. And at that time, my mom became, she was drinking a lot, and she didn't know what to do about losing her sister and best friend. And my cousin and I, who was my aunt's son, we were dragged around back and forth to the hospital, and it was just a hectic time for me. So at this time I began self-harming, just to cope with the stress and the pain and everything of just losing someone I loved. And she passed away 9 months into her journey with cancer. But I know she's in heaven with the Lord, and I believe that. Through this time, it was a dark period, and I forgot to mention I was adopted at birth. It was open adoption, and my birth mom was involved in my life a lot, and she passed away 5 months after my aunt. So my mom was involved in her own struggles, and the two mom figures that were like my moms in my life had both passed away, so I struggled with abandonment, so I sought attention by doing rebellious things. By 7th grade, I was fully, my eating disorder was fully developed. I was very bulimic at this time. And by 8th grade, I was struggling with the drug and alcohol addiction. And I was in an abusive relationship with a guy who physically, emotionally, and sexually abused me. So I used drugs and alcohol to cope with the pain. And when my friends and parents found out about that, it was hard for them to hear, so they didn't really know how to go about it. So they just kind of pulled me from everything and tried to keep their eyes on me as much as possible, which was good and bad, I guess. They sent me to a different school as a freshman. They sent me to Monte Vista Christian School, which they thought that would take away all the problems, which it was helpful, but I still had the same mindset, and my problems, you can't run away from your problems, no matter what the case is. So that was when anorexia kind of became my life, because I didn't have the drugs anymore, because I was sheltered from that, but I just sought control in a new way to control my life and just the things that were going on. So I became really unhealthy as a freshman in high school. I was doing sports, and I was barely getting by with that because I was so underweight and I wasn't eating anything and I was weak. So at this time, it took my mom, who had been healed herself by the time I was a freshman. She's completely healed now and free from her addictions, and between her and my youth leader's wife and a really good friend who's a mentor to me now, they all just sat me down and told me, listen, you're going to die if you don't get help, and they were right. And that was when I realized I really need help. So I had a friend who had graduated from the Mercy program back in 2009, and her aunt told me about Mercy, so I applied. And I walked through the doors of Mercy on October 29th of 2012, feeling really broken and alone and terrified. I was too scared to die, but I was also too scared to live. So I was in a place where I was attempting suicide, but I didn't know if that was what I really wanted. So being sent into a home full of all these girls struggling with stuff, it was a really hard transition, but it's a Christian program, and they loved me back to the Lord, and it was really great for me. And I learned there that true freedom is found where the Father is found, my Heavenly Father. And I found true freedom within the guidelines that He laid out just for my safety. I've learned that I don't need to rely on substances or addictions to be happy or to get by, because there is true joy in trusting God, trusting others, whatever it is for you, whatever you believe, just finding that one thing or that one person that you love and that you can find help from. For me, that was God and close friends and music and art. Whatever that is for you, whatever that outlet is, like if you're struggling, that's great. It's the greatest way to escape without hurting yourself and taking it out on yourself. So I was at Mercy for 7 months, and I came home about 3 weeks ago. So that was a huge journey. I went to the home all the way in Nashville because they're the only home that accepts minors. So it was a journey, and I got to get involved with music while I was in Nashville and getting my help and stuff. So it was a huge blessing. But God has completely changed my life, and I found support, and I found people who love me, and I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to use substances or like razor blade or whatever it was at that time. I don't have to use that anymore because I know that I am loved, and I'm here to speak to every one of you. You are loved. I want everyone in the room to know that because it's true. And I love every bit of what Love Club is doing. Like, I found out about this a couple weeks ago when my best friend texted me and was like, hey, I want you to come speak at this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, like, I sat down and talked to Becca, and this is crazy amazing, and I love what they're doing. So like I said earlier, if you need help, if you know someone who needs help, I'll be sitting back here at my little table that says Hope for the Hurting. I've got some free cookies if anyone's interested, and resources. So if you know someone who's hurting, or even know of a friend who's hurting, come grab a free book or a Mercy magazine. I've got resources here. So yeah, you're welcome to that. It's all free.